Before I go to sleep, I decided to do this Superman video. And of course, throughout the history of time, we've had several actors who've played the live action version of either Superman or Superboy. And you can see them all here. But in terms of the big screen, only 3 actors so far have played Superman. We well know Christopher Reeves, who played Superman from 1978 all the way up to 1984. Then afterwards, Brandon Routh played Superman in 2007 in Superman Returns. And of course, the current Superman is Henry Cavill. And we can see all 3 people here: Christopher Reeves, Brandon Routh, and Henry Cavill. Notice that their designs of costumes are slightly different to each other. It's pretty cool. Now, 2 of the Supermen have a curl, but Henry Cavill's Superman does not. Of course, it should be noted that in Batman v Superman, he actually did have a curl coming down to the end. So if you pay attention, you would see it. Now, there's a lot that these Supermen shared in common. With the case of Christopher Reeve, you can see that his Superman tended to have a sort of smiling, warm, charming disposition. But it wasn't mutually exclusive. Brandon Routh was also able to capture that with his Superman. And also Henry Cavill had a slightly different form of charm. But yes, he also had charm, and his Superman also covered that. In terms of regression, we saw that the face acting of Christopher Reeve is quite incredible. Generally speaking, Superman doesn't always say a whole lot. But Christopher Reeve's Superman, as you can see here, though the special effects is kind of old now and dated, Superman is soaring up into the sky, and he is very intensely angry and also very intense in what he's doing. Henry Cavill captures this beautiful intensity as well, flying up into the World Engine to destroy it after it was actually pressuring him at the bottom of the ocean. Quite intense. Now, the Clark Kents of each Superman are actually very interesting. In terms of Clark Kent that Christopher Reeve portrayed, he was sort of someone who was unlike Superman. Weak. He was somewhat cowardly, very intellectual, and kind of goofy and awkward. Now, this was probably the first time that Superman had ever been seen, his alter ego had ever been seen like this. I don't recall him ever being referred to as Kal-El. I believe it was in Superman 2 with General Zod. I think he was referred to as Kal-El. But what's interesting is this goofy sort of Christopher Reeve Superman, who seems rather naive about certain things, is his cover. Okay, so this was the first time Superman's cover was portrayed that way. This is the most widely received rendition of Clark Kent that most people remember, and they tend to compare any other successive live-action Superman to this Clark Kent. But this is not the way how the original Clark Kent was in the original Action Comics #1 Superman. In fact, the original Clark Kent was just an ordinary guy. He was very gentle, but he was an ordinary guy. He wasn't a goofball like this Clark Kent. Again, this Clark Kent continues to put in a sort of goofy rendition. Here he's saying to Lois, "Oh, you think I'm Superman? Did you get something to drink? Have you been drinking?" So he had that kind of goofy rendition. Brandon Routh's Superman also had some goofiness to him, but in this case, he also portrayed himself in a sort of someone seeing something new. So he brought this aspect of innocence or naivety to Superman. Here he is, being slightly goofy, and he would continue to be slightly goofy. Henry Cavill's Superman, on the other hand, wasn't trying to be goofy. He was trying to act as normally as possible to assimilate into the environment. Here he is, as he's receiving what Lois says when she says, "Lois Lane, welcome to the planet." He literally was a good investigative reporter. Unlike all the other Clark Kents before, he actually did some investigating. He wasn't goofy, he behaved like a reporter, and here he is greeting Bruce Wayne, saying, "Clark Kent, Daily Planet." While Perry White took him for granted, Clark Kent was do his digging. And since no one would think that Clark is Superman, because for so many different reasons, Clark here does not look like Superman. One, Superman has perfect vision. Two, Superman doesn't wear his hairstyle that way. And three, Clark Kent, though he's big and buff and strong, doesn't quite look that way in his outfit. So it would be kind of hard for people to imagine that Clark Kent is Superman. Besides that, why would Superman hide just below your nose? He only appears when he's needed. Who would ever think that Superman was a human? Even though General Zod said he would look like you. But he's not one of you. The other interesting thing was Superman's relationship with Lois Lane. As you can see here, Lois Lane and Superman kind of draw close together. They get broken up. This is the same for Brandon Routh's Superman and Lois Lane as well. And here, Superman again and Lois Lane. In terms of flight and flying, of course the special effects have changed over time. But here's Superman flying. Again, the 1978 Superman. The special effects got better with Bryan Singer's Brandon Routh's Superman. As the plane is being destroyed, you see him fly through the plane. Really nice special effects there. And of course, Henry Cavill's Superman, which has the ultimate really great special effects and grandeur at the same time. Here we see Christopher Reeve's Superman flying over the sea. We can tell it's a screen behind him. Nonetheless, still impressive for his time. Brandon Routh's Superman flying over the ocean. And here's Henry Cavill's Superman just going beyond the speed of sound as he speeds across the water. Sonic boom behind him. Really awesome. Now, Henry Cavill's Superman has gone through a lot. Has done quite a lot. Between Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, Superman has gone through a number of changes. More changes than any other Superman has ever gone through. Aside from that, and I'm talking about even the Superman that went through the four different movies. So you had Superman 1, 2, 3, and 4. Even Christopher Reeve's Superman hasn't gone through so many changes. We're able to see in Batman v Superman an evil Superman. This basically, I think, occurred in Superman 4, I believe, or Superman 3, where Superman turned bad. And that's the Christopher Reeve Superman. In terms of Superman, we saw his childhood, we saw his growing up to be a man, the values and virtues he had. No other Superman movie had done that. And then we saw him battle General Zod and company in Smallville. But more interestingly enough, we saw finally a Superman that we could take seriously. He wasn't put in a world which was sort of fantasy and a little bit on the quirky side. No. He was put in a real world with real situations. So Henry Cavill's Superman showed us some spectacular things, like before he even was Superman, being on fire and still saving some people in a burning rig. Just impressive. We've never seen such a strong, really powerful looking Superman. All the other Superman, they were well built and good to look at, but never as powerful as Henry Cavill's Superman. Henry Cavill looks like a power forward on a football team. And then we've never seen a Superman fight quite like Henry Cavill's Superman. Henry Cavill's Superman literally had super speed, great strength, and of course the use of his laser vision was just completely different. You go and you compare any of these Man of Steel fight scenes with anything from the 1978 Superman to the 1984 Superman, it just doesn't compare. And of course, Brandon Routh's Superman in Superman Returns didn't do much fighting. But when Superman fights, while it might be a brawl, it's a super speed brawl. And that's the incredible thing about Superman. Here is General Zod blasting Superman up into the sky. The Kryptonian fight sequences were just incredible. And then, this is the only Superman who has expressed remorse in killing anyone. So, when we talk about Superman, this is just a brief synopsis, but Henry Cavill's Superman goes through so many different stages, and there's so many complexities to him. But the ultimate complexity and the ultimate awesomeness of Superman is in the fact that we have finally gotten a Superman with many of the qualities that Superman actually has. And that makes it even more monumentally awesome that we got this Superman. On that note, you guys have a great one.